Live. Hey, Josh, what you doing?
Oh, I did tell you.
Hey, Michael. I'm here at VRLA 2017. I'm at the entrance. Today is the full public expo, and there's expected to be around 6,000 to 8,000 people here today, from my understanding.
Wow. That's a lot.
So it's pretty busy. But yeah, I just wanted to have an opportunity to walk around and maybe show off some of the cool technology and experiences that are being made here.
Okay, well, let me jump to my screen here, and here's the floor plan. So right now you're at the front entrance, so as you can see...
I am, yeah. Let me switch my camera around.
Okay, so while I'm doing the... So essentially he's at the front entrance, so he should be able to look at Star VR and, be mindful of the fact is Josh was here yesterday, so what I'm hoping is that he'll go through there and kind of give us his take on what he saw yesterday and anything else that's going on today that could be of interest. But here's the map behind me. So hopefully he'll go front to back with obviously the large booth of Oculus. And I don't know what this thing is in 560, but maybe he'll show us what it is. All right, Josh, I'm back to you.
Yeah, so here's the expo floor. It's actually the biggest expo floor they've ever done. I just got done with the keynote, and the founders of VRLA were kind of talking about how in just 2014 when they founded, their original expo was the size of a single booth here at this event. So if you look at the Star VR booth right there on your map, Michael, and here, their entire first event was the size of this booth. So they've obviously grown tremendously in 3 short years, because now obviously we're in a very busy, very loud expo floor with over hopefully close to 8,000 people today. But yeah, so first up we have Star VR. Now Star VR is a new headset that is going for cinematic VR experiences. They have a 200-degree field of view in 5K resolution. So it's the highest resolution and field of view that I know of in professional VR. And then they have their own tracking system that appears to be similar to lighthouse tracking.
You mean positional tracking?
Yes, excuse me. Yeah, positional tracking.
Yeah, so now have you had an experience with it yet?
Unfortunately, I haven't, because the lines have just been, as you can see, really long. Even yesterday, when the expo floor was a lot smaller, in attendees, the line was still tremendously long, and so I didn't get to experience it yet. I'm hoping to maybe catch them at the end of today, but we'll have to see.
I'll tell you what, why don't you go to where the exit is and then just kind of, see what somebody says about it. Get a first-hand, is it worth it? I'm assuming that many of these people are VR enthusiasts, so this could be an
absolutely. Let's see what we can get. Yeah, this line just continues to go.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely probably should have done it yesterday.
That's
in
okay.
hindsight.
Well, we'll see what other people think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, it just keeps going, doesn't it?
It just keeps going. I think it's probably over an hour wait at this time, because they only have 3 headsets. I think the exit is somewhere over here. Let's see if I can find it.
So yes, it's a much larger presence than in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris and I have talked about them several times on the show, and we haven't had an opportunity to actually interview them, but we've been following them.
Hey, have either of you guys done this?
Yeah, I've done this.
Yeah, can I just ask you how it was?
Oh, it was cool. I've never actually experienced virtual reality.
Okay, this was your first time with VR?
Yeah. The accuracy was pretty good.
Okay.
Like everything, it felt good.
Felt good.
I've never done the Star VR. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
But
how was the resolution? It was pretty crisp?
Resolution was pretty good. It looked pretty crisp. It looked a little cartoony, but
cartoony.
it's a video game.
Okay.
So that's probably the video game aspect.
What kind of video game did you play inside?
It was a shooter.
It was a shooter.
First-person shooter. You kind of stood behind a bar.
Interesting.
It was by itself, and then people came up on the yacht. It was on a yacht.
Okay.
Yeah. Ask him about the weight and the comfort of it. Did it feel like
how was the weight and the comfort of it?
The comfort, it felt pretty comfortable. Like, I'm pretty tall. I didn't know if it was gonna work on me, but
Sure.
it felt actually pretty comfortable. It was tight.
Okay.
The only thing that wasn't too comfortable was the protector things.
Yes, yeah, we kind of jokingly call them VR condoms.
VR condoms.
Yeah, for sanitary reasons, it's good to wear, but they are not comfortable.
They're not comfortable, but
Yeah.
the headset actually felt pretty good.
It felt good. Okay, cool. Well, thanks very much, man.
No problem.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so that was actually, he said, his first VR experience.
Let's see if we can catch somebody who's done a little bit more VR.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe they don't ever leave.
Yeah, right. I'm not actually seeing an exit. I just see the entrance.
Maybe
and the long line.
again. Ask the guy again where he came out at.
Okay, great. Hey, man, just real quick again, where did people come out?
They come out over here.
They come out next to the entrance?
Right now, there's only one available. Like, there's 3 here, but they're having issues.
Okay.
So we waited like 40 minutes, but we were at the front of the line.
40 minutes
so
and you were at the front of the line.
People. I don't think they're gonna make it.
Okay, cool. Hey, thanks, man.
No problem.
Yeah. So the exit is at the entrance.
Okay.
And 2 of their 3 units are not working. Although
that's not a good sign.
this guy looks like he's using a version of it. As you can see, as soon as he turns around, it's really wide.
Yes. Well, that's what I was thinking. That would make it somewhat cumbersome, and more importantly, the inertia of moving that could be an issue with action. And as you know, in my own designs, I've tried to keep it very minimalistic for that reason.
Absolutely.
So that would be my concern with it.
Yeah, again, from my understanding, they're targeting like cinematic experiences in VR. So actually going and setting up rigs at theaters is kind of like you're seeing the latest Avenger film. Well, maybe beforehand, while you're waiting, you can do the 10-15 minute immersive, side story that goes along with the Avengers. So yeah, we can sit here and wait, and hopefully someone will come out. With only one person going at a time, it might be a while though.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll just have you on, as we talked about, next Friday. Maybe you'll get an opportunity to see it for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's definitely a good chance that I can get in a little later.
Or as you come back over there's somebody else who has it on now. Maybe just kind of plug in there and say, hey, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll even, exactly. So, is there anything in particular you want to see next, or should I just go booth to booth, Michael?
Just kind of go, obviously, I'm going to jump back to the map here. So we're at Star VR. So you're on the left-hand side. So I'm assuming you're going to be coming up through Mind Show on your right, Kite Landing.
Mind Show, absolutely. Let me squeeze in here and talk to you a little bit about Mind Show. So today the keynote was actually Justin. I think his name is Justin Rowland. I might be pronouncing that correctly or incorrectly, but he is one of the creators of Rick and Morty, and he actually does the voice acting for both Rick and Morty. I don't know if you know that show or if any of your fans know that show, but it's kind of already a cultural hit as just a hilarious animated show. But anyway, so Mind Show, what it is a VR experience where you get to go in and actually create a set, create props, and then create characters. And what you do is you set these characters up together, and then you embody the characters yourself. So you actually switch into the character view. You become a first-person character, and you get to actually act out and role play or kind of improvise skits. And so you record yourself for about 30 seconds, then you stop and you add another character, and then you record yourself acting with your first character.
How fun.
So you end up creating these narratives with yourself, where you're 2, 3, 4 characters interacting in stages with each other. Unfortunately, here we go. Let me see.
If the vibe catches up with our dream.
Yeah, so this is actually what it looks like. It's pretty animated. They're using kind of some Steam characters, animated cats. And I gotta say, I love this. I was actually hanging out with Kent Bai, and we got to play this together with his partner, and we just had so much fun. We would each take a turn, and we would do 30-second recording, and then the next person would get in. And so it was like improv theater, where we're all just kind of making stuff up as we go, and we were all just laughing so hard.
So some of my questions are, 1, can you bring in custom characters? 2, do they have plans to have, let's say, internet or LAN type acting shows? For instance, you said each of you had to take turns. Do they have plans to have interactivity
Collaborative, yeah.
among? Yes.
So from my understanding right now, they're in a beta, and so it's a little limited in what it could do. We actually tried the alpha, so it was great, but it was definitely limited. You cannot yet put in your own assets, and there was no connectivity, no multiplayer, so to speak. I don't know if those are in the roadmaps. I think it would make a lot of sense for them to enable you to upload your own graphics, your own assets, and to be able to do things online with other people. But at the current state, no, it's mainly a single person, one location experience.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and it definitely shows the potential for the future of VR. Really, what a lot of people are talking about in the industry is that the future of content and media in general is actually user-created. That we're getting to a point where we no longer want to just ingest the content given to us. We really want to be a part of the creative process, and we want to be able to create something and then share it with our circle. And that's what they're focused on, is everything you can create, you can actually film and make 2D copies of. So you can actually set up cameras and do a cinematic storyline. So you can stitch together these animated experiences where you're the director of photography, you're the actors, you're all of it. And so you can really let your imagination run wild and just tell some goofy narratives. And then at the same time, you can also share it in VR. So if your friend wants to watch the experience from an actual 3D perspective, they can get in there and watch it. So Mindshow seems to be really betting strongly on user-created content as the future.
Well, I think it's fantastic, and I can imagine if you had an HTC Vive with more trackers, you could have full motion control.
Exactly, yeah, that's how it works. I believe it works both with the Oculus and the HTC Vive. Obviously, my preference is the Vive for that full room scale experience.
Right,
and you can really embody it.
You can only have, let's see, the handset as well as your head as far as articulation, but if you had the trackers which controlled your legs, then you could have full amateur control.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, or armature control.
There's quite a few companies that are working on, bodysuits, like really easy things that are that you kind of clip on to certain points in your body, and you get a very, very close full body tracking.
Yeah, and that would be great for this. So that'll be cool. I'll look them up and see if we can get an interview with them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're actually founded by the creators of VRLA themselves. So.
Okay, so I'm going to jump back to the map. So if we keep going forward, we've got kite lighting, and then and off to our right there, we got a bunch of booths around Upload, a bunch of mini booths. Anything that you saw yesterday worth noting? Some of the smaller booth areas?
Yeah, so Upload VR is, they're kind of like a magazine press covering the growth of the VR AR industry. But they're also getting into the co-working space and the incubator space. And so both in San Francisco and now just launched this past week in LA, they have large offices that act as co-working. So anybody can come in, and for a much more reasonable price than renting an office yourself, you get access to a desk and VR equipment that you can use in your interactions. And so what we're seeing here is a company, a motion capture studio that operates out of VRLA. And so we have a person in a bodysuit that I believe is Trax, along with all these cameras are working together to 3D map and create a model. He'll actually get a little closer, and you can see on the screen there's a woman moving around. That's actually the gentleman in the center is embodying that woman. Can you see that well enough?
I can. Yeah, I can't. I can see the figure of the woman. I don't see any detail.
Yeah, so as he's waving,
actually,
you can see that the woman is waving as well.
Yeah, interesting. Now you said
it's actually tracking his finger movement, which is, I gotta say, that's pretty impressive.
Yep, it sure is. But again, look at the number of cameras he's got set up on this thing too.
Yeah, exactly. This is not This
Not something
is
I'll be able
not
to
something
buy.
you're going to buy and install in your house, unless you got, I'd say, a couple $100,000 to spare.
Yeah, which sadly I don't. So Otoy, are you familiar with Otoy, Josh?
I'm actually not. No, I was pretty busy yesterday, so some of these smaller booths I was not able to get to.
Well, I'll give you a little bit about background on Otoy. In fact, it looks like one of the same guys that I've met before. So essentially, Otoy makes rendering tools.
Okay.
In fact, what do I call it? And they have some very interesting concepts that they're working with. One of them is to create they have plugins to do cube maps, so very realistic stereo 360 panoramics. They also have been working on something that I don't want to call it holographic, but essentially the ability to capture three-dimensional information of a scene so that it looks like a hologram. They've got quite a few things that they're working with, and we've talked about them before on the show, and so my memory is somewhat vague on it. The fact that they have some of the small booth is interesting, but they're known for basically having a plug-in for some of the larger 3D modeling applications like 3D Studio, Maya, as well as some of the low-cost versions like Blender, meaning no cost. I don't know if you're familiar with Poser or 3D Daz, but they're good for creating these type of things to create very realistic renders, what they call photonic rendering, as well as their ability to create stereo 360 panoramics. And now they're venturing into other things.
Wonderful.
So the thing is, Otoy is not identified unless you go down, since they're a smaller booth. So you're still, I'm assuming, where are you at on the map now, Josh?
Well, I'm just past Babylon, which is kind of a weird robot fighting game. I haven't actually tried it, but I'm actually at the Unreal Station.
Okay, so you're right between the corridor of some smaller booths on the left, and then the right-hand side is Unreal. Is that what I understand?
Opposite, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anything new? Obviously, Robo Recall. Have you played that yet?
I have, yeah, and I don't know if you've gotten a chance.
I have. In fact, on the day that they released it, I stayed up to like 2 or 3 to do the show in the morning with one of the first experiences. It's fun.
Great.
I did it on the Oculus, which limits your tracking ability, but supposedly there's a conversion so that the HTC 5 users have more, as you're seeing with that character there, the ability to actually move around with a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, so I can speak to this because I did get to play this game yesterday. It is a tremendous amount of fun. I will say it is incredibly stressful. The premise is a little confusing to me, but basically you're a robot that is in charge of recalling other robots, and you basically fight these just waves of very aggressive robots. And it's a ton of fun, but I agree with you. I played it on the Oculus. I was a little disappointed. Oculus's tracking technology just does not feel up to par with me. So there was moments of confusion and stress caused by tracking issues. But the game is hilarious. It's got a sense of humor to it. It's got really good interactivity. Yeah, it's a ton of fun. You actually, this kid who's playing, I'm going to try to get closer.
Yeah,
it looks like he's totally kicking butt. You can see, so they're actually using three of the cameras, and they have them aimed up high. So he has much better tracking than the demo I did. And he's also, kids seem to pick these games up super quick. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that's on my list is to buy another camera and actually get a full test. It's a little more difficult. It's still experimental, but obviously, if you want full, let's say, small room size tracking, it's the only thing that you can do. For instance, this is how I knew it was 3 cameras. He wouldn't have been able to do what he's doing now if he only had 2.
How he's fully turning around exactly is coming from the third camera. I actually spoke with someone who has played this on the Revive, which is a software that allows Vive users, HTC Vive users, to play Oculus games. and he said that it works great. There was an issue originally that because the game will warn you when you're turned around. Sorry, guys. Sorry. That it will tell you please face the cameras, and so for a while that was causing issues. But they've recently released an update that allows you to disable that, so you can get the full room scale without any issues. This kid got so much further than I did. He has somehow taken over a large mech, and he's using a laser rifle to destroy all the robots. I'm pretty impressed. Yeah. It's a beautiful game, though. Yeah, exactly. The younger generation, they get it quick. But yeah, I will say it was an incredibly beautiful game. The graphics were amazing.
Oh, they
really
were
high fidelity.
Stupendous. I was just
impressed,
blown away. And I'm a big, as you probably, if you've been watching the show, I've been a fan of Unreal for some time. Back in 2003, I was creating virtual visualizations for an architectural firm. So I've been a big fan for many years, and I think they have one of the fastest, more importantly, what would you call it, beautiful shaders. What they can do with that engine is just fantastic.
Shaders and particle effects. I was actually talking to an indie developer today who had started to build his new VR game in Unity, and he got to a point where he just realized he could not do what he wanted with Unity. And so it was a hard decision to make, he said, but he switched to the Oculus, or to, excuse me, to Unreal 4.
And not surprising.
And he's getting exactly what he wants. So if you're a developer and you're really wanting that high fidelity, Unreal is the way to go.
And that's being seen by many of the demos. Okay, so
I'm going to switch us over here. So this is Infinite, I don't know what it's called, Infinite something, and it is a omnidirectional
treadmill.
What would you call this? Yeah, treadmill.
Yeah.
That actually, if you see close, it has a harness. We'll watch this guy get in.
Right. Yeah, and point your camera down, and this is why I call it a treadmill. See that rotates below him, and as he moves around, that provides the motion tracking. I saw this at what was it at?
It's almost like a controller.
That's the VR. Silicon Valley VR in 2016.
So I've seen a couple companies like this that are definitely heavily investing in arcade scale VR, because this is again not something that you're going to purchase at home, but it would be really popular amongst arcade users.
Well, supposedly, and I don't know if they're there, there's another version that allows you, basically, it's like a round, do you remember the Daleks in Doctor Who? So it's like the bottom part of that, but it has kind of the same thing. It has like a ball bearing or bearing lower surface, and then you wear these special shoes with it. And then
I think I've seen that.
And I had an opportunity, I didn't try it, but I watched people doing it. But obviously the whole purpose of this is to be able to move around in whatever direction you want and get the impression that you're moving within the game. So one of the demos or examples that I saw was like not an MMO, but one of those games like that where you had to do a lot of running. But literally, you were running around because you were using a device like this.
Which would be, I think it'd be great. I mean, there's an idea that, so it looks like at first they have him walk around without the VR headset to kind of prepare them to how it's going to feel, and then they actually put them in the VR headset. So here, I'll pan over a little bit. Can you see that TV okay?
It's a little, the problem is your camera is trying to compensate for the lighting in there, so it's kind of blown out.
Kind of tricky.
That's right. I see enough of it. So he's walking down the street. Is that what I see?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty simple demo. They just have him walking around a town, just kind of checking out the town.
You know what would be great with this? Do you remember the company, and darn, my memory is poor today, that made Myst?
Oh, yeah.
What's the name of the VR version?
The new one, I think, is called Oblivion.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah. So I've had an opportunity to play with it. In fact, I kind of fell in the water, the virtual water, which you're not supposed to be able to do. So I could never get out. So I didn't go there.
Oh no.
But this would be kind of cool for that because literally there's a lot of moving around and they use teleporting, but this would be kind of cool to walk around in that, do the puzzles, and then walk to the next location. Just imagine you're also a virtual florist. So let's say on a very rainy or in the winter.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. You know, one thing that's kind of talked about as like the dystopian version of VR is that everyone is just gonna kind of be plugged into a headset, like overweight, sitting in a dirty house. And what I'm actually seeing, and what a lot of people are experiencing, is getting healthier from their VR experiences. But most of these things take such full-bodied immersion that you end up doing a really active workout. Like after I got done playing, I think it was Robo Recall, my smartwatch said to me, "Hey, good workout." So it definitely, gets the body moving. And I think things like this, like I said, obviously this isn't practical for a home, but for an arcade or, maybe someday if the price really comes down, a gym, you could do these really interactive, workouts where you can go full immersion and go walk a beautiful beach, in the middle of the winter, in Portland. That's kind of my fantasy is being able to, on a cold, rainy day, get into something like this and be able to go like, I don't know, hike in the mountains of Hawaii or something.
Let's see if I can find the other company who I don't know is there. It's called the Virtuous Omni.
Yes, that's right, Virtuous Omni. I haven't heard from them in a while. I'm curious how they're doing.
Yeah, they're actually, I think they were based in Great Britain, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
They still have a website.
That's positive.
Which I guess is a good thing. And but they don't have anything about buying it. So,
yeah, again, I think some of these things are really designed.
Hang on, shop now. So they have Virtuous Omni Package.
No price.
Let's see, package includes, it doesn't say, yeah, it says please contact us. So it doesn't really, they talk about commercially viable in VR. So maybe they've gotten out of the home version of this. But it's not. I mean,
I think that's the only way for them to go at this point is to sell high-end units to high-end arcades.
Well, that's kind of sad because originally, and this may not be the same company, there was a version that was like $500 to $700. And if you know that most of these, what do you call it, walking machines are about that price. So I would think that'd be fairly competitive. And the fact is that you just basically hold on to the handrails. You could walk anywhere, and I would think that would be a much more enjoyable experience than watching Fox News. That's just my opinion.
Sure. Well, I think the challenge with the consumer market is right now, if you look at VR unit sales, we're at about 1 million total for high-end VR. Oculus is, Oculus is somewhere around 300,000 units, and HTC I think is hovering close to 700,000. So that's only 1 million consumer customers for this type of experience. And if you're selling a $700 to $800 peripheral, how many of those million users are actually going to buy it? Maybe 5 to 10%. That's a pretty small market for such an expensive item, in my opinion. So I imagine that's why they're targeting more of the commercial use.
Yeah, but don't forget that you also have the Gear VR as well as Google's Daydream, which even has more. And that's really all you need for, you don't need something extremely fast if all you're going to do is walk around.
It's true.
So, I mean, there is that market. But yes, $500 to $700. But again, if you created something that had a dual purpose for walking normally, it was just a treadmill, and the ability to use in VR, I think maybe that's the problem, is that they're trying to identify one market. But they could work with two. But regardless of the point, I think it's very cool. It's, as you said, kind of sad that the market didn't grow as much as people thought it would, but I still think there's a huge market for that. All right, so where are we headed to now, Josh?
Well, I just wanted to walk around a little bit, stretch my legs, keep showing some fun stuff off. We've got the Intel booth, which is, it's fun. They're kind of mainly just showing off their line of laptops and their processors. Wanted to show you how smooth it's running. Over here we have this game called Monster something. I tried it and I honestly wasn't that impressed. It's like I don't know if you remember this old game called Rampage.
Yes, I do.
From years ago, where you become these little monsters and you run around destroying the city. Doing good. Yeah, I'm actually just broadcasting live. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like a remake of the classic Rampage game in many ways, and they had some fun locomotion uses.
So what's the name of this company?
Well, the game is called Mighty Monster, but this is the part that felt kind of funny to me. The company is called R17, and they're an advertisement company.
So right now I'm on the map, and I see that they were across from Intel, so you're pretty close to some of the larger booths in the back. It's funny. So you're saying that the experience was somewhat underwhelming?
It was super underwhelming. I was not impressed with it, and what kind of set me off wrong was I quickly realized that what they are is they're an ad network, and they're this you know how in the mobile video game worlds there's tons of free games that are heavily polluted with ads, and maybe pollution's not the right thing to think of, but the mobile market has just become basically nobody buys games. They just want to pay them free, and then it's kind of a pay-to-play, a pay-to-win model, or you have to deal with these ads. And that's what this company's doing, is they've created this kind of
freemiumware.
Yeah, so they've created this very underwhelming experience for me that was designed to place ads for companies in the game. So like in the game, there's billboards. There's little buildings that are, able to be purchased by a brand to advertise their thing. So people are going to get this fun, semi-fun, free game that then fills them with ads. And I guess, the industry has to find a way to monetize. So it makes sense that these things are coming about. I'm just very cautious about advertising in VR because it is such an innately intimate experience. You are in this virtual world. You really quickly, your subconscious starts to absorb things as if they were reality. And so, I don't know, it's a conversation that I think just needs to be publicly had about what are the guidelines, what are the best practices, how should we approach this whole collection of data and advertising to units in this new metaverse.
So did you experience that yourself? I mean, what do they disrupt the experience you're in with an ad? I mean, how does it work?
This one, no. It was all more like billboards in the game.
Okay. So, I mean, I could see that where you have product placement. Let's say you have a game that might have a Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola could sponsor you just to provide the beverages. I think that's been done before in other games.
It has, and there's nothing innately wrong with that. I mean, obviously, video game companies and experience creators are going to need to find ways to monetize, and advertisement's been a part of our culture for a long time. So product placement is, we see it in film, we see it in television. I think we even see it in some video games already. So it makes sense. I just there's hesitation for me in how these things are going to be done, and so we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. So what's something called secret location? You're kind of close to it.
Secret location? I'm looking on the map. Can you point it out to me on your...
Sure. Let me bounce back to my screen. It was... So R17, if you go back towards Oculus, it was off to your right.
Okay.
See where my cursor is?
Yeah, so secret location seems to be not a company, but actually another ad network. VUSR, Premium VR Distribution. So, yeah, again, it's there's a rush right now to figure out how are we going to monetize this content. How are content creators going to make money so they can keep creating, which is a really legitimate question. And how are companies going to make money off of those content creators? Yeah, so I actually should come check out this. Oh, here's secret location. I have no idea what secret location is. Should I go up and ask?
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me. Hi. Can I ask what Secret Location is?
Yeah, Secret Location is a VR content studio.
Oh, it's a content studio.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're displaying two different things today. We have User on our product side,
Okay.
which is a VR distribution platform.
Okay.
And then we also have Lashes of the Universe, which is our original VR bullet hell first-person shooter game.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you very much. Yeah. So Secret Location is actually a content studio that both runs VUSR, which is the ad network, and then over here apparently they have a game that they've created called Blasters of the Universe VR Bullet Hell. It's kind of an intense name, but it looks like another wave shooter kind of first-person game. Yeah.
Interesting. So essentially, they're like a content repository with their own ad revenues built into it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, that's my understanding too, and that's what I'm. It's starting to make sense that this is what's happening. Is that these companies are coming in, maybe purchasing small indie games or having them develop under their production title, and then for access to build an ad network.
Yeah, and I've gotten similar requests for some of my mobile games to be able to put it under their umbrella. So I see that coming, but as you said, if they're going to inundate you with ads, it might not be the best way to do it. So as you said,
and it's tricky too because there's a lot of exploration. We got to find a good way to monetize. There's nothing wrong with monetization. We just got to be active participants in it and not just let these big companies like Facebook decide what they're going to do with their data and how they're going to advertise to us. And what I'm seeing with these companies is they're doing their demos, but the demos don't yet have ads in them. So they're kind of luring people on, like, oh, look at this great content we're creating, and here's what it's going to be like without ads, and that's not going to be a user's home experience, most likely.
Pretty cool. So you're really close to Oculus.
Yep, so here's Oculus. Very simple setup this year. I think they're just kind of going for simplicity.
Yeah, now what's funny is that at CES 2015, they had a very large booth, kind of a monolithic area of CES. Last year I was told that they didn't have anything, if I remember correctly. And then I see this large area on VRLA, and this is what we have. So it's a little underwhelming compared, and I'll go to the map. This is what the map shows. Normally when you see these large spaces, you expect large placards and structures, and obviously that's not the case here.
Yeah, so, they're still, in some ways I commend them because they are still showing up. They are still supporting events like this. They are still supporting content creators by displaying their games and their experiences. But yes, they do. It seems lately like they've almost kind of, I don't know, maybe because of some bad press with the founder who has recently stepped down. Yeah. They just seem like they're keeping more of a minimalistic atmosphere.
Wait a minute. I have it. No, you don't see their actual booth until you put on the headset. It's all virtual.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's it. That would actually be clever.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe we'll think about that. Okay.
Yeah. So we're getting to an area that I'm looking forward to showing you off for a couple reasons.
Okay.
First, this is called the Odyssey VR, and it is kind of like I guess a roller coaster simulator. I tried this yesterday, and I had so much fun. Just so you know, I might have to stop in 10 minutes and come back on. I have a little hiccup happening with my phone. Just a heads up. We either have to wrap up in 10 minutes or I'm going to have to stop and immediately come back. So Odyssey VR is, and we'll see it here running in a second, but it's a really incredible, like I was impressed at how much this felt like a real roller coaster. The machine itself moves maybe 6 inches in all directions. But the haptic feedback was so convincing that in this roller coaster ride, you actually go upside down. And there was moments where I felt like I was going upside down. And I actually grabbed the seat and was looking for my seatbelt because I felt like I was going to fall out. So we can see a little bit of it here.
So is it on a gimbal, or is it the seats themselves that are on the gimbal?
The seat themselves is moving, so the whole device is not moving. It's just like a shell. But you can see this
Independent
experience that they're doing. There's like a
Wow.
big swing in the middle of a city that just starts to flip. And these two are handling it very well, very composed. I was laughing hysterically. The person I was with was also laughing hysterically. We were like yelling, like, you know, total kids at a theme park. Highly entertaining. And what's interesting is I expected this to be kind of an expensive unit. $25,000 installed. That's the cost.
Wow.
Yeah. So super affordable. I mean, not super affordable. You know, obviously you're not gonna put this in your house, but from an arcade standpoint, 25 grand is a pretty good investment that I think could definitely make your money back pretty quick. You know,
Yeah,
I see these things popping up at malls, arcades, movie theaters, anywhere where there's a lot of people, and they're going to come in. You know, you pay $10, $15, and you get this ride. When you experience it, you have a ton of fun. It's
interesting is the headsets they're using there don't look like the standard headsets from Oculus or HTC.
So that's what's great about them. They're mobile headsets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly which ones. This is a Chinese company, so it might be some form of a Chinese mobile headset, but they're completely self-contained.
I followed a few of them, and that one looks, I can't think of the name now, it actually is a clever little device. If that's the same headset, it's a fairly good quality.
So just real quick to interrupt you, right now the roller coaster is breaking. They're actually going to see the line start to snap. It starts to get, oh yeah, there it goes. So this is how it ends, is the user is plummeting down into the streets. It's pretty hilarious. It's pretty hilarious.
So, yeah, I'm familiar with this headset. It's good quality, and I think there's also a version that has a hand controller that has the actual processor in it.
Okay, interesting.
So if that's the same one, so did you think the quality was halfway decent in it?
Yeah, I mean, it was mobile graphics. It wasn't a Robo Recoil graphics. But the haptic feedback of the chair was intense and real enough that I just didn't even think about the graphics very much. I got really into just the experience. Yeah.
So let's see. Let me jump back to the map.
Well, I actually have the next thing I want to show you already in mind.
Okay.
This is called Visual Reality, and it's a visionary art zone. And so they're kind of doing psychedelic, you know, I think it's a little bit of what some would label New Age spirituality. But some really amazing artwork and visuals using mixed reality, projection. We actually have somebody that's doing live 3D modeling. You can see this very psychedelic character being built. Yeah, this is a pretty fun zone. It's exploring non-video game usage of VR and 3D assets. You know, more artistic, kind of self-expressive,
What's the 3D modeling program they're working with?
You know, I do not recognize the program myself. It looks like it might be Cinema 4D.
That sounds about right. That's actually pretty decent. It's been costly in the past.
Yeah, it's definitely a professional level software. And then, so I wanted to show you this a little bit. There's actually a dear friend of mine named Zachariah. He's an incredible Unity programmer, and he's developed something called the Galactic Gallery. He actually made this for a contest at Lucidity Festival. But it's a really amazing use of VR that's not a video game. What it is it's kind of like psychedelic art gallery, where you can actually see real art pieces that real artists have made that he's taken in and created in digital forms. And so you push these buttons on the wall, and the entire wall flips. And it's made to be used with a sub-pack, so you get this intense haptic feedback. And he's taken these two-dimensional art pieces, and he's created a 3D version of them. So some of the paintings will actually pulse and breathe. Some of them you can stick your head into, and they're three-dimensional. And the whole time there's these like wispy kind of spirits flying around you. There's these floating candles that you can actually grab and play with the light source on the paintings, and just highly entertaining art piece that is, again, just a really unique use of VR. That's not cinematic. It's not a video game. It's something else. It's something different. And yeah, Galactic Gallery. People can Google it and check it out. He actually says it's going to be. Hey Zach, when is Galactic Gallery going to be on the Steam store?
Probably
Sometime this month. All right. The development process can be a little bit of a roller coaster.
As we know.
Yeah. He's a very busy guy. Zach actually is one of the main developers for Dash, doing all of their kind of high-end VR, MR development.
So where does he reside? Is he in Portland?
He is sometimes in Portland, he's sometimes in LA, sometimes in Central California. He seems to move a lot.
How funny.
Like a true artist. He moves a lot. Yeah.
Very cool. So this appears to be the kind of the artist creative area of VRLA.
Yeah, which I'm really excited that VRLA, they didn't have this last year, and apparently this year they just reached out to this artist collective and said, hey, we'd like to give you a space. Can you show up and do something artistic? And so they didn't charge them to be here, which I really like, because I think it's really important for the future of VR that we support artists, that we support creatives who don't always come from that like, all right, what's the bottom line? How do I make the most money out of this? They're coming from more of a mindset of like, how do I inspire people? How do I create an experience that causes someone to think and feel in a different way? And I think that's incredibly important.
I totally agree with you. So I have a couple of requests myself. One of them is, I believe Microsoft is around there with their magic mushrooms.
Yes. Microsoft is here dosing people with some psychedelic magic mushrooms through their incredible.
Seem to have lost him. Well, we'll just kind of hang on for a moment. Let's see if he comes back. If not, we'll go ahead and probably terminate it. If we come back again, I'll just set up another live event for those of you who are watching. I apologize for this, but that comes with the game of trying to do things live. I want to really appreciate Josh for doing this for us. If you're not familiar with Josh, Josh runs is the main organizer for the event here in Portland, the meetup, that has about 1,500 members. I spoke last month to about 250 and do plan to speak again this month. And pretty exciting. They've got a very exciting group here. A lot of people very interested in it. Josh, as you can see, is working with a lot of people, both on the south or both in California as well as in Oregon, and as well, I think he does some work with people in Seattle, Washington as well. So he's really a great enthusiast and has a lot of energy for this. So it's been great to be able to hang out with him a little bit. So he appears to be coming back. So hopefully you'll hang on and we'll see him shortly. And Josh, are you there? Got nothing. Well, while he's going to be coming, I'm going to bring up something kind of like a little promotional period for me. So if you've been following me, I've been working on something called the Neoti VR Uplay Stealth, which is specifically made for the the iOS or iPhone 7 Plus, that in my opinion is a very minimalistic design, very lightweight, and I've gotten away from the goggles. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the latest production prototype that's almost finished. I don't have the new headband yet, but the rest of the unit's brand new. And as you can see there, what makes this unique is that I can now mount the structure sensor with what I call my Neoti mount magnetic mounting system, which I have right here. And it works with the, oops, get back in the camera, the iPhone or excuse me, the structure sensor, which magnetically attaches, and there it is. And then basically you plug it into the iPhone jack. And you can also add the, let me get back into the camera here, the wide angle lens, which I may have to, there we go. So there's the wide angle lens. So basically this provides for the iPhone 7 Plus the same functionality as their Bridge headset. What makes this unique over the previous versions is I have a, it's now on a hinge, so the whole front portion of it folds down so that you have access to the screen. So then you can basically call up whatever application. And once it's up, you just close it. It is fully Google Cardboard compatible, and you can use their profile that I've created for it. I also have this impact, you can't see it here, but I have a capacitance switch built into it, so you can use it with cardboard without any other electronic devices. One unique thing is that I'm working with 3M. They have a ratchet thing that they use, believe it or not, for what is it? I want to say solder. No, I can't think of the word now. But essentially, the helmets that you wear when you're soldering, and I don't know why the word's not coming to me, but it's a ratchet system. So what it does, and I'll put it on, is it allows you very quickly to put it on your head like this, and then ratchet a few times for extreme security. And you can also add the optional headband on top, but I found that it's not really necessary unless you're going to be moving around a lot. But with this whole setup here, it's fairly lightweight, the fact that you're putting on the sensor that's wherever it's at. But it allows you to do full positional tracking with an iOS device, which I've been working with for about 2 years with Cipital, and it's brand new. They've got some great stuff with their new Bridge SDK that allows you literally to walk around, and like kind of like the Microsoft HoloLens, it kind of maps out the room, and you have a feature to map it. And then now that it can be done in the headset, and then you can basically pull whatever you want, and it provides positional tracking, and it's fairly accurate. It's gotten much better than it did 2 years ago. So I've been very pleased with it. And this I'm hoping to have done in Q3, but I will be showing this off on Monday. So if you are a listener in the Portland area, you know, come on by, try it out. So it doesn't look like Josh will be joining us. We'll hang on for a few more minutes, and if he doesn't, we've been here for about an hour now, we'll have to call it quits. As you can see, let me jump back to my map. The areas that I was hoping to see is Microsoft had a cool, and if you go to yesterday, the first 10 minutes of our show, we had the Microsoft booth, and the reason I call it Magic Mushroom, it kind of looked like an Alice in Wonderland type scene. But from what he was telling me, they have little tracking balls, and with the HoloLens, you kind of go on your own little Easter hunt. So I guess it was like an Easter hunt, little virtual world that, or actually a mixed reality world. So it's built both in the real world as well as virtual eggs. I think that's kind of fun. In fact, that reminds me, I actually created an app last year. Maybe I should push it up for Android that had an Easter bunny running around and you were in a virtual world. So I'll have to see about if I can port that out. I've got a lot going on right now. And then some other things that we kind of looked around. There's a Vive station. I don't know exactly what they're showing. I would have liked to be able to see that. But jumping back to Microsoft for a moment, I don't think they had any of their new headsets, their mixed reality headset, which are basically VR headsets with the HoloLens portion of the positional tracking built into them, or something, a facsimile of it, that allows you to do positional tracking with your PC. And again, with a, let's say, a laptop or a compact Nook, which is what I'm working with, you'll be able to, with a battery pack, be able to walk around. And so I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully I will have my developer version of the Acer within the month or two. I'll have to check back with Microsoft. The other thing I was hoping to see is Samsung. There we go.
Michael.
Josh, you're back. Yay.
I am back. Yes. Thanks for waiting, everyone.
That's okay. I kind of talked about it and then brought up, I'll switch my camera. I brought up the latest iteration of the
Oh, fantastic.
replay. And as we talked about, the lens body now has these very sharp aspheric Pima lenses. So no longer using the Fresnel, so it's very sharp. But the other thing that's important is it now has a hinged lens box. So it just falls forward, then you have access to the screen, and when you're done, you just flip it back up. It uses neodymium magnets to keep it locked into place, and then you just put it on. It now has a new ratchet ending in the back, so it tightens it. So no more elastic band, and there you go.
Every iteration you make seems to get better and better.
Well, that's the whole idea of doing iterations, right? Sorry,
yes.
I still haven't figured a way to control hair musk, but I guess I'll keep working on that. But I will have this on Monday, so you get a chance to actually play with it. I think you'll enjoy it. And I will have some new demos using the IO or the occipital bridge positional tracking. Okay, so enough about my stuff. I was just talking about how I would hope to be able to go over to the Microsoft area. So if you can jump us over there.
It's on front facing.
Yeah, we're back with Kent Bai.
Hi there.
Hi, Ken. How are you today?
We got the map here.
Yeah,
right now we are. Where are we at?
We're near the art zone.
We're down the bottom, right?
No. You're turned around.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Up
we
here.
should be right here.
So cool. All right.
Yeah. Anyways, it's good to see you.
Right.
Yeah, I'll probably see you back in Portland.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. Thanks for everything, Kent.
Bye, Ken. So
again, he's a funny guy.
So remind everybody, Kent Bai does a great podcast called Voices of VR, where he does interviews with a lot of people that basically are around Josh today, as well as several hundreds other. He's got 500 plus audio podcasts, and if you're interested in
I think
this
he's approaching 550.
So 550, but if you're interested, I recommend anybody to subscribe to him and listen to him. Not that long.
Yeah, he gives the most thorough entry into VR, and he's actually about to launch Voices of AI. So he's going to do the same thing before the AI industry and really covering that. And I'm excited to say that my company, Reflective Brands, is actually building his new podcast website for the Voices of AI.
Oh, cool. So I noticed now that I see you've got your front-facing camera. Will you be able to go back to your rear camera?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Actually, go ahead and let your microphone drape like that. It sounds better because it was get a little bit more distortion when it was in front of your mouth. So.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make. I'll keep that in mind.
So it sounds perfect right now.
Okay, perfect. So just continue to show. This appears to be some form of Gear VR tracked, motion tracked sword game. I actually didn't see this demo yesterday. I kind of wish I would have.
So is this Nolo VR?
Let me find out for you. No, this is called Phase Space.
So there's a company called Nolo VR that has a system that is a unit that you put in front of your Gear VR, or actually any Android phone, and it uses ultrasonic as well as infrared to provide positional tracking of you in space. And it was like $200 on Kickstarter. They were able to exceed the amount required, and it looks like they've already done the ejected molded parts for it, and it looks like it'll be shipping in June. So I'm hoping to have an early version to talk about and have them on the show. But again, another company from China that has worked. Many of them. The Chinese have been very enthusiastic about VR. They've come up with a lot of creative ideas.
Yeah. It's actually really refreshing to see, but yeah, the Chinese market could be the first widely adopting consumer market for VR. So here we have the views, which we talked about yesterday, but this is the new 360 camera that Michael is excited to get his hands on.
Very excited. And the big reason I'm excited about it, not only is it a 4K, which we do have with the new Gear VR 360 and a couple of other cameras, but more importantly, for $800, you also get spherical 360 and stereo. And what's the importance of stereo? Stereo is what allows you that depth information that if you've ever watched any of the YouTube videos, you can tell the difference immediately. Most of them look like they're painted on the inside of a globe. With stereo 360, objects actually appear to come out. They have depth to them. You know, just like a 3D movie, except you have full 360. So you're actually part of it. So it's much closer to what you would experience if you were with your Oculus with a game, but it would be real life video.
Yeah, I'm excited. You know, as you obviously know, I run the Portland VR MeetUp, and I was speaking with their team yesterday, and they really want to support local VR meetups. And so we're talking about some kind of partnership where they're going to send us some of these cameras for free to use with our content creators, so people in our local community can play with them for a few weeks to a month, create some content, and then we'll feature it at one of our VR meetups.
Well, and I'm really excited about it. I've been kind of a thorn in their foot. I had them on an interview last year, I think about October, and I've been kind of hammering them to get one of these units. You know, I haven't pulled the trigger on it because, you know, the term pre-order to me doesn't, especially when you don't have a hard, fast shipping date, because I've been burnt by 6 cents. I've been very leery about putting money out there.
Understandable.
And the problem with reviews is that there's the same thing. I wouldn't say the same thing. They've had pre-order for some time. Now they say that it's going to be shipping, but that shipping date keeps slipping. It's now 2 days past it, or 2 months past the date that they expected to ship it. So hopefully we're closer. I do see that they had some actual units in the booth. So cross my fingers. But for $800, it is probably the best compact unit. Now, sadly, as I mentioned yesterday, it does not do real-time streaming. It's only post-effect or post-360, so you still have to compose it. They have their own tool for that, and so that you can create your own content and then obviously upload it to Facebook or YouTube. But the thing is, there are some other cameras coming out, but they're normally more expensive. I was hoping that you would be able to go by the Samsung booth because their new Gear 360, ironically, so I'm hoping.
Do you know where that booth is? Because I haven't seen it.
Sure. Let's see. You're at the Microsoft. It should be immediately. It's in 320. And 320. Let's see. I'm sorry. 232. It was in front of the Unreal booth.
Okay, it's kind of hidden away, but yeah, I'll get over there and check it out for you.
Okay. So this is the Microsoft booth.
Yes, this is your magic mushroom booth.
Yeah, see the magic mushrooms?
I'm actually going to sneak in here and place down the camera so we can get a stabilized shot.
Wow.
Yeah, so what they're doing here is a really cool interactive HoloLens Easter egg hunt. So they've mapped this space and they've placed these little hidden Easter eggs. And apparently if you can find them all, they give you a little chocolate rabbit.
Well, that's pretty cool. In fact, like I was saying before you came back on, I've actually created a little Easter thing in Unity that I was testing last year right before Easter. So obviously I'm always way too busy. I should figure a way to get that out there. Maybe I'll bring it up on Monday. But essentially it had like the whatever the bird, I don't know, some Easter I found somebody had created a nice bunny on Unity, so I used that plus some other content. And literally the same thing, you had to find Easter eggs and move around to find them before the Easter bunny found them. So it was kind of like a race between who would get them first.
That's funny.
But that was all contained in the VR world. This is kind of cool because, as many people know, the HoloLens is a mixed reality. And what that means is you see the real world, but then you lay virtual characters or content on it. And these are 3D objects. And what makes this very important with the HoloLens is that they have superb positional tracking. It's called inside-out tracking. And it's done by doing real-time mapping of your environment. This is why you were talking about those little balls, which help provide more accurate tracking. What it allows them to do is then in that 3D space position 3D objects. So as they're walking around, it appears like those objects are there for them. Now there might be some color cueing, because I notice those balls are of different colors. So maybe it knows when you get to a particular shape to trigger a particular egg or whatever they have to find.
I mean, that's what I'm imagining. You know, the software and the hardware works amazingly, but I would imagine for something so big, they created a little bit of like safety cues, so to speak, just to make sure that it would work smoothly. Because as you were saying, it can definitely run without any form of environmental stimulus or triggers. You know, it doesn't require these little tracking balls to work. Yeah. So as you can see, it's kind of funny because we're watching these people just kind of walk around and look at nothing. To us, it looks like they're just kind of like interacting with nothing. But for them, they're actually finding these 3D assets and interacting with them.
Now keep in mind to imagine that. You see those mushrooms there. So imagine that maybe behind one of those mushrooms is a virtual egg. So even though we couldn't see it in the camera that we're looking at now, the way that the HoloLens, if you have not tried it, is it's basically like a pair of sunglasses that project images into it, and they just seem to appear motionless because of the what do you call it? The very Loctite tracking system. So as you move around, the objects don't move. If you remember Pokemon Go, a lot of people said, "Oh, that's mixed reality." No, it's not. In fact, it's not even very good augmented reality. Basically, it superimposes a character. Look, the guy's found one. And he's using something else that's kind of important. Because the tracking is so good, they can actually use movement with their hands in order to provide, what do you want to call it, like you do on an iPad or a tablet.
Yeah, just the ability to interact with things. You can use buttons and with your hands. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. There's definitely some critiques. You know, this isn't. I wouldn't say this is really a consumer product yet.
Well, it's very expensive. I mean,
it's expensive, and its use cases aren't quite day to day yet. But it's definitely pretty darn impressive. I've used it multiple times, and the ability for a 3D asset to stay in the exact place that you put it is really amazing. And what's unique is I actually put a 3D asset under a table, and then looked at it from on top of the table, and I couldn't see it. So the device was intelligent enough to actually hide things spatially behind objects.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of benefits. And what's interesting is that actually I had been working on my headset. But notice that the headset portion of it is kind of like a visor, and then it has that ring that provides support for the crown of your skull. And that actually, I think, is the best direction to go. It's not that it's heavy, but there's a lot of components in there, battery, so it's somewhat front heavy.
It definitely has weight.
But remember, it's self-contained, so everything is in that headset. And that's also the disadvantage, because they had to go with an Atom processor, a Cherry Trail, and because of that, the performance of creating graphics is somewhat limited. And also with the screen size. Now, if you look at the Microsoft images or their video, it shows that you're seeing all of this in their 3D or these objects in the mixed reality world. And the reality is just like a little screen, and I'll jump to mine to show you. It's about like this. That's all you're seeing in front of your eyes is like a.
I think it's even
like a
thinner
screen.
than that.
Yeah, and if you move too close to it, the objects disappear, or if you move up and down, it crops them or clips them. So it kind of interferes with the immersion quality. But the fact is that it's happened. People are developing content, and the actual products are just going to get better. I have to give Microsoft a lot of credit for moving forward with it. And who knew, right? A lot of people who knew with Microsoft.
I know. It's pretty impressive.
Okay, well,
even in its current state.
Maybe you got to try it and get a little chocolate bar later on.
Yeah, maybe. These lines are not convincing. You see this right here?
Yeah, it's. So
that goes on for a while.
So Josh, I was hoping to kind of wrap this up in an hour. So if you, it looks like we've got some hardware people off on the side that you're at now. MSI seems to have a booth. Maybe this is some of those OEM headsets that are coming out. They would be to your left.
Here's MSI. I don't think they're showing off any headsets. I think they're just showing off their laptops
Oh, okay.
and their desktops.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
MSI
they
makes
have amazing gaming PCs that are obviously more powerful enough to run VR. I think they have a whole 10 series, so everything from the 1060 to the 1080. The 1080 laptops are massive. They are huge.
Yeah, for a desktop, but MSI makes the 14-inch, and I think they also make a backpack now. So if you wanted to do mobile VR with your HTC Vive, this is one of the companies I was looking at, and you can get the 14-inch for less than $1,000 now if you do some shopping.
Yep, it's true. Yeah, they have some of the cheapest VR-ready laptops. They also have the backpack. I don't know if the backpack is available for consumer use yet. It might be. The backpack is an interesting thing that these hardware companies have done. I think it was kind of a poor decision, honestly, because I think we're gonna have wireless VR within the next year.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. And there may be some people there doing that. Problem with wireless is latency. And the thing about these backpacks, which are also going to get smaller, is that the latency is not there. The other problem with wireless, if it's not done correctly, you could get interruptions to it. And that has been an issue in some areas, but the main thing is latency. Now, some people are saying that they're now getting it down to less than 2 milliseconds, which is very important. But some people
I've actually experienced it.
Okay, so what do you think?
I think it's going to happen a lot quicker than people realize. There's a company called Nitero, which was Austin-based, but also had a Portland office, and I'm actually friends with one of the founders, and got to actually experience their chipset. And they had under 2 milliseconds latency, wireless VR, they claim to have solved the line of sight issue, and their claims must have been pretty good because AMD recently purchased them in quite a large acquisition, which was made public just last week. So AMD now owns Nitero and is fully. They've said they're fully committed to developing wireless VR.
Now, and also keep in mind that HTC will have a wireless unit very soon as well.
HTC, yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no,
Valve is actually very, very rarely invests in companies, but they actually did, I think, over $500,000 investment in Nitero, and was one of the owners of Nitero. And so Nitero is working very closely with both Valve and HTC to help develop the wireless standard for VR.
Well, that's really good to hear. And well, maybe at one of the meetups we can get. I think he spoke the last time, right?
He did, yeah. Yep.
So
yeah,
maybe
Sven. I'm always struggle with his last name, which is a little embarrassing.
Well, maybe you can reintroduce him to me on Monday. I'd like to try it out for myself. And,
I will, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah, so it might be a little short-sighted, but if the latency is still an issue, plus the fact is you're going to have a PC to run all of this stuff. And having a good laptop is always the case.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having a VR-ready laptop. So I know we're short on time, so I kind of want to maybe head over and see if we can look at that Samsung booth for you.
Sure, let's do that.
And we'll kind of just talk about things as we pass. This is Radiant Images. They're doing some of the most high-end professional 360 film equipment. So some of their cameras, I think, go up to $1 million. They're using obviously professional quality like Reds, but they have the smaller units as well, and a lot of experimenting and perfecting how to create cinematic VR 360 films.
And remember, we talked about this at length, so if you want to go for our episode tomorrow, the first 15 minutes, Josh talks about it for about 5 minutes. So here we have the Unity booth. Now, as you mentioned already, a lot of people, like myself, have been working with Unreal, and I've been comfortable with it, but I've also done a few things in Unity, and it's really nice in bringing content in and your own content, because I think it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of different standards. So it basically supports Collada immediately. So if you're doing things, let's say in SketchUp or your own Blender, it'll immediately import them. Their shaders are improved. They also bring in environment textures now from a couple of companies, so you can get that look. That demo video that we played last year, a lot of people complain that you can't do that with the out-of-box experience, but keep in mind, a lot of the stuff that Unity has is very easy to attach to. There is a lot of content, both assets, textures, as well as a lot of applications. One of my first Stereo 360 opportunities was using Unity from a plugin that was free. So there's a lot of advantages if you're haven't worked with Unity or any 3D yet, that Unity might be the best place to start. They have a lot of
Unity
great content.
definitely has the easiest learning curve to dive into, and their asset store is absolutely amazing. The amount of free assets, but then the amount of like high quality paid assets. You can literally build an entire video game without writing a line of code if you understand how to string assets together.
Yep. Well, and even the underlying coding system is C#. So it's actually a great opportunity if you've never done any programming to actually see your results immediately.
Yes.
If you've ever tried to program in Android using Java or iOS, now using Swift, the results aren't as immediate or let's say as fun. C# I think is a great little language. And the way that they support it in Unity, I think, is fantastic. And as you said, there's plenty of stuff that's out there that you can start from. You don't have to go from scratch. But one point I wanted to make is that tons of tutorials, both by Unity themselves as well as other content providers, so there's always some way to learn more. Unreal has a lot of support as well, but it doesn't seem as organized in some cases. So I'm frustrated. Plus, Unreal seems to be on the cutting edge, and things seem to break from one version to the other, which is somewhat frustrating.
Yes, Unreal definitely takes much more development experience, whereas Unity is really, they've done this whole campaign of focusing on the novice. So they have some amazing training assets and training courses for free that you can actually learn about how to make games.
Let me jump to my map and I'll show you exactly where it's at. So give me a moment.
Samsung, I'm actually already found it.
Great, excellent.
This is a big expo floor, so I actually didn't make it over here yesterday.
So hopefully Samsung is showing off their new Gear VR.
They're showing off something called FaceSense, new VR interface, which I actually have not seen before.
Actually, I was reading about that. We're going to cover it next week. Essentially, this is something that can be adapted to your headset that senses your facial expression, and then it applies that to your character.
Yeah, hold on, let me see if I can. Can I just get in here to film this? I'm not going to cut in line, I promise. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that very well.
I can.
We've got a couple of brochures over there too. Open up.
Yeah, so
I had read about that online yesterday, or actually last week, and so we'll probably cover it again this week.
Yeah,
so
that's worth investigating, but I don't see any. I mean, they're showing the headsets. I don't see any cameras whatsoever. No 360 cameras.
Okay. Well,
but it seems like they're really focused on the ability to control VR without gestures. So facial sensing and audio. It seems to be what they're focused on with this new device.
So maybe it's cool. An add-on product under the Samsung title. Interesting. Well, that might explain why they had a smaller booth.
Yeah,
well, that was a little underwhelming as an exit. So, anything else on the map?
I don't know. Do you see anything that you want to go check out?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. We got a chance. I don't know if you're showing anything else, but
well, let me just come back to you and say goodbye. Yeah, thanks so much for doing this broadcast, Michael. I hope that we entertained some people and showed them a little bit about VRLA. And
Well, what I'll do is once we're finished with this, I'll go ahead and post it again. So if people don't get a chance to go to VRLA, they can come on your shoulders, I guess.
yeah, well, I think overall what really this shows, we have close to 8,000 people here today. This is the biggest expo floor they've ever had. I think they had close to 200 exhibitors. We had some amazing keynotes, and really, this is almost twice the size it was last year. So every single year, this has grown, and I really think it shows the state of VR. VR is still very young. It's been only 1 year since we've had consumer headsets, but the enthusiasm is here. The people are coming, the people are showing up, the technology is growing, it's getting better, the content is being created, and it's here to stay.
So who were some of the keynote speakers?
Well, yesterday they had the CEO of Unity. Today they had some of the executives from HP, NVIDIA, they had some people from Technicolor, from some film studios and content creators, and they had the creator of Rick and Morty, Justin Rowland.
Cool. Well, again, Josh, thank you very much. Pleasure, and so hopefully for those of you who have tuned in today, I will actually have, cross fingers, an event set up for the meetup using the Insta360 with an iOS device, so that we'll have streaming 360 on Monday as well. And so if we get the chance to do this again, I don't know what other shows are coming up. I think there's
I think we'll find something coming up.
Okay. So again, thank you, Josh.
Just so your audience knows, we got the monthly Portland VR Meetup. It's happening every month, and we're having these big 200+ people events. So if you're ever in Portland, maybe time your trip to our meetups. And also look out. I'm currently in the process of producing a new expo conference in Portland called Reality PDX.
Okay, and I was keeping my mouth quiet because I didn't ask you. I was going to mention that when you had gone down for a moment, but it's glad to hear that, and hopefully we can get some sponsors to that and have something as large as what you're seeing there. Probably not as large, but
yeah. Well, we'll aim for the stars and land on the moon or something like that. I forget how that phrase goes.
Yeah, we do have Seattle, which is not that far from us. So.
Exactly. Well, thanks again, Michael, and thanks everyone for watching.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Bye.
All right, take care.